Hi, TT Lim here, Lim Tai Tun. I'm from Singapore. I'm here in KAFU hoping to advocate the students and the faculty to consider venturing into impact investment, to become impact entrepreneurs. I feel that impact entrepreneurship is going to be something that is very relevant, something that is going to be promising and has the highest probability of success in Kazakhstan and in Central Asia. So I'm here to justify and to propose this idea to KAFU and to the students and the faculty here.
Hello everyone, my name is Daniil Sychov and I'm third year student of KAFU, and today I'm sitting with Mr. Tai Tun Lim, and this is the podcast about entrepreneurship.
Thank you for the opportunity to participate in your podcast.
We will run through some questions and I will ask you about it. So the first question is, you've led teams across Singapore, China, Sri Lanka, and the UK and beyond. What's the most surprising cultural insight that you've learned about leadership?
Right. The first thing is this: all human beings are the same. They have the same fear and they have the same strength. Whenever I make a decision, whenever I look into managing a team, I always like to ask myself the context behind a certain situation. What do you mean by context? Context means the background. And I feel that if I start from the point that everybody is smart, nobody is stupid, everybody is smart, and they make decision because of certain background information or lack of information, and because of some background based on culture or based on their understanding. So the moment you understand the context behind what a person is doing, the problem that a person is facing, then you realize that everybody, it's about the same. Okay, so context to me, it's very important. And of course, within the context means you got to understand the cultural background of the person. So I'm also a student of history. I like history a lot. And whenever I go to a particular country, I will look at the history and look at the background of that person. So I may have teams that are from different countries, like when I was in the UK. In my team, we have people from Sri Lanka. In my team, we have people from Africa. We have people from UK and all this. But even if you say this two person from Sri Lanka, they may be very different background as well. Because in each of them, their background, their family upbringing also different. So I like to understand the context, the background of the person. So I would approach it in this manner whenever I lead a team.
Thank you. And as you may know, in our university, we have a mission, training future leaders. And here at KAFU, we have leadership courses.
Yep.
Would you like to try to work with our future leaders?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I'm always wanting to learn from leaders, especially future leaders of Kazakhstan and of KAFU.
Yeah. Thank you. So the next question is also connected with the leadership. Like, you've held leadership roles in both for-profit and non-profit boards. What skill transfers best between them?
Okay, well, that's an interesting question. What's the key difference? The key difference for profit and non-profit, obviously, is the element of profit. However, the evolution of business has changed so much since the day when I start business, that today that differences is getting smaller and smaller. Let me explain. When I first went to MBA schools, if the professor asked me, what is the purpose of business? My answer will be to maximize profit for the shareholders. Then I will get 100 marks. Today, if my student give me the same answer, then he will fail. Why? Because the evolution of business is such that from the early days where profit making, very singular objective of only making money for the shareholders, has now moved to today's model, which we call a stakeholder model of doing business. In other words, when you do a business, whether it's when you do a private business, you have to consider the interest of all the stakeholder. Who are the stakeholders? Your employee is one of the stakeholder. So you have to take care of your employees. Your environment is a stakeholder. Your community is a stakeholder. So today, when you run a business, you have to approach it from a stakeholder model. Because if you don't run it from a stakeholder model, the world, the funds, the equity, the community will reject you. And this is not a sustainable business model.
That's very interesting observation, I can say. So, you describe yourself as a trade sector athlete, operating in business, government, and civil society. Which sector has taught you the hardest lesson, and what was it?
Okay, the hardest lesson is still the social sector. It is very hard to try to have this triple objective of making money, or being purposeful, and at the same time trying to make an impact. Now, the most difficult business that I've ever done was when I started experimenting with this business model of trying to alleviate poverty with a different kind of model. Let me explain. The traditional way of poverty alleviation is you start a business where you get the poor to be the producer and then the rich as consumer. You understand? So produce by the rich to sell to the produce by the poor and sell to the rich. This is a very traditional model for poverty alleviation. But I wanted to start a business where it is produced by the poor and consumed by the poor. In other words, my mental mindset was this: the poor should have equal rights and equal access to whatever we are produced. We got to give them the same opportunity to consume and the same dignity of being able to consume. You get what I'm saying? Yeah? So I said, okay, let's start a social business where it is produced by the poor and consumed by the poor. So what kind of business model can that be? To me, that is a very, very difficult model. Although in research, they did say that it is a viable model. Meaning, for example, if you understand this thing called the bottom of the pyramid, okay, so the bottom of the pyramid means that the bottom, the poor, is the biggest consumer base and has the least competition because everybody wants to sell to the rich, sell to the middle class. That, on theory, is the proposition, but I find it very extremely hard to be able to get that to work. I've not been able to make it work so far.
Was it difficult to switch between one business model to another, and how much time did it take?
It is not difficult to switch from one business model to another. It is always looking at what the opportunity present to me. So if I approach a project and then I will study the project, I will see whether there's an opportunity to build a business to have maximum social impact, to have maximum community flourishing. So it's not a different business model, but to analyze what you have on hand, what are the conditions that are available, and then from there try to develop a business model that is both profitable, sustainable, and impactful.
Thank you. From army budget officer to CEO of a listed tech company, how did your military training shape your approach to entrepreneurship?
Well, the army training and the military training, it's extremely useful. In the army training, we are learned to analyze the situation. Okay, so in battle, we have what we call appreciating of situation. So you start with appreciating the terrain, the geography. You study the river, you study the road, you study the mountains, you study the hill, and you decide which part of the terrain is what we call key terrain, and which part of the terrain is the critical terrain, and which part of the river is key. So the first step is to analyze the terrain. Same thing as doing business. The first thing is you have to analyze the market. You have to analyze the situation. You have to analyze the environment. We call it the political environment, the economic environment, the social environment, the PAC-SCAN. That's the key phrase for that. And then for the military side, after you analyze the terrain, you have to analyze the enemy. You have to look at what the enemy is doing, what are the forces he has, where are the forces placed, yeah? And then you have to analyze your own forces before you come out with what we call course of action. What are the course of action that you can do to fight against the enemy? And once you have the course of action, you probably have course of action A, course of action B. Then after that, we have what we call action and reaction. Okay, something new to you. What is action and reaction? Meaning, you now take course of action A, I'm the enemy, and then you execute your course of action A. Then I will try and respond as the enemy. So it's action and reaction. And then from this action and reaction, then we will derive what we call a new course of action for yourself. So we do a lot of action and reaction and come up with many scenarios in the military training. So that helps a lot when I do business, because the same thought process is there. You study an environment, you scan the environment. Enemy means you look at the competitors. Which are the competitors that are friendly to you? Which are the competitors that will be threatening you? And how far are the competitors and all this thing? Then you look at your own forces, which means you look at the resources that you have. Then you have to define and then confine. You don't want to fight in all mountains and all hills and all terrain. You have to decide and choose the terrain that you want to fight, that you can best win. Yeah? Then you look at action and reaction. If I do this, what will my competitors do? If my competitor do this, what will my action be now? My reaction. So action and reaction. After, that's what the business plan is all about at the end of it. And then from there, you determine what are your final business plan to be. So when you execute it, you have a clear idea of an anticipation of what the competitor may do or will do.
Yeah. You ran Fad Republic operations in China during the FMCG boom. What's something you would do completely differently if you launch it today?
When I launched FMCG in China, that was in 95, mid-95. The environment of China then was very different. China was just opening up. China was still, at the time, more or less a centrally managed economy. Today, it is a much more market economy. Okay. So at the time, I was very naive. At the time I went to China, I was thinking of using market way of approaching the problem. But I did not realize that my partner at the time was still under a centrally managed way of operating his business, which means that he has to report his production, not his sales. So production is more important to him than sales. Why is production important to him? Because at that time, China measure their GDP using production and not output per se. And because of that, there was a huge conflict. Yeah. So what will be the difference? The difference is, if I'm going to redo it back in 95, I would focus on the production side, making production more efficient. Because in a centrally managed economy, I'm not sure in Kazakhstan during the Soviet times, in a centrally managed economy, distributing what you produce is not as much a challenge as today, when it is free competition. You have to prove to the consumer that it's good enough before they buy. In a centrally managed economy, once you produce, the central authority will then see how to allocate what you produce to different state companies. Okay.
Yeah. Was it difficult to adapt through this China market that all started to work?
Very difficult. Very, very difficult. You know why? Because China is such a huge country. It's a big country. And the opening of China, the reform, is not across the country at one time. Okay. So the opening up of the country at that time started from the south, from Shenzhen. and then from Shanghai. So it moved gradually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's not so easy to really understand and grasp what's happening as a young businessman, 30 over years old, and trying to understand the political and all these things. Today, in hindsight, I knew I'm a bit wiser, but at the time when you're young, you are not so wise. You don't really understand the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, although the country, at the same time, while the country is opening up slowly, the citizen and the people are also adapting to the new changes. Yeah. Okay. So you have many moving targets at a point in time, right? So the economy is opening up. The government is experimenting. The people are adapting. So it was in an environment that is very fluid, and the laws are also not also in the midst of trying to be more secure, more governance, and more discipline. And they're also experimenting what laws is necessary, what protection is necessary, things like that. So everything is in a fluid state. So very challenging.
Thank you. You have worked in venture investment, student housing, and shipping, medtech, and industrial parks. How did you decide in which new industry you want to dive into?
Okay. Open doors. I did not decide. The opportunity come. I was available. I look at it and I think that okay, it's something that I can do. Then I'll do. Okay, so I wish to tell you that life is all planned. Life is never planned. Job is never planned. You when you finish your university, that opening came, or 2 or 3 opening came. You decide which one is the one that's the most suitable, which one excites you. Then you choose that one. Yeah. And then other opportunity came. And then you find that, no, I have not finished this job yet. I can't take that. So life is like that. It is not centrally managed.
We can change our fate. So in Sri Lanka, you led business as mission initiatives. How do you reconcile profit with purpose when the two seem to pull in opposite directions?
As I said, it's very challenging. It is not pulling in opposite direction. It is more that you have to achieve both things at the same time. That is challenging. Okay. But it is very worthwhile to do, as I said, because you cannot do business with the sole objective of making money only. And that is no longer the demand, no longer the expectation of the public, of the general populations, of even the fund industry. Because if you want to start a business with the sole objective of making money only, it's not sustainable. You'll be rejected by the workers, you'll be rejected by the community, you're not going to investment. So the world has moved to, as I said earlier, a stakeholder model of doing business. And we have to recognize that. That it's getting harder and harder, that you have to look at making profit at the same time be responsible for other stakeholders.
Yeah. And am I right, like that you need always analyze like the market, the needs of the customers? Yeah, am I right?
Yeah. So you have to analyze the need of the customer, but at the same time you try to, today, not only do I analyze the need of the customer, I also try to see whether that product can help to be impactful for the community or not. Yeah.
You've chaired audit committees for public companies for over a decade. What's one red flag you always look for that most founders overlook?
Okay. Well, again, back to the first question about context. The founder, it is a listed company, which means that the founder has done very well. Otherwise, you will not get listed, isn't it? Yeah. The founder is entrepreneurial. He's very good. He's doing very well. But circumstances may change. and market will change. Okay, so one of the things that that I would look for is how astute the founder is of this public listed company, and whether it is a one star thing. You know, singers. There are singers that only are famous for one song, but there are singers who are able to keep on, producing excellent song and more song. The most famous one must be Ed Sheeran and what they call that, Taylor Swift kind of character. Okay, so you look at founder who are able to learn and who are able to get his experience to be able to overcome such circumstances. Yeah.
According on your experience, maybe you can make like top 5 list of red flags of the companies. Yeah.
Different companies, different things.
Yeah.
One is whether the company is in the right sector, and whether that sector or the industry is a sunrise industry or sunset industry. So that's one red flag that you probably want to see. The second red flag is obviously the cash flow of the company, the liquidity of the company, whether the business is EBITDA positive, cash flow positive, or the business is bleeding. The third red flag is definitely on the governance side. How strong the internal control is, how disciplined is the founder in terms of wanting to introduce professional managers, wanting to subject himself to all the internal control, or he wants to be the one that sign all check and then everybody got to listen to him. So these are some of the red flags on the governance side.
You studied circular economy at Cambridge in your 60s. What inspired you to go back to learning, and what surprised you most?
Well, I did not go back to learning. I'm always learning, in a sense that learning does not have to be in a formal classroom. Okay, and the reason why I attended Cambridge Sustainability was because it gives me the platform to interact with a lot of other people interested in sustainability. But other than that, I am a very ardent reader of books. I interacted with a lot of people, and I am shamelessly pursuing experts, buy them coffee, buy them lunch, and then dig their brains and then learn from them. It's a cheap way of learning. It's much cheaper than school fees. So my learning, I have a lot of learning from the informal side. The formal side, where you get the degree in all those things, is also one avenue, but it's lesser. But the informal side is much more. The other learning that I had was as part of the teaching faculty. So I was teaching in Loughborough. By being involved in the teaching faculty, you get a lot of research and academic papers that support or not support, as a practitioner from that point of view. So learning comes in many, many forms, different ways. But after university, it's always informal learning that has the best and the biggest impact.
Maybe you have some more interesting stories from Cambridge. Would you mind to tell?
No, it's online courses. I'm sure you have your study in the university is quite exciting. It's never the study that's exciting. It's only after the study, when you meet up with your friends, go to a pub, go to the bar, that it's quite exciting. It's the same thing when you go and do formal education. Okay.
Yeah. So this all questions from my part. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.